Hello, Morim here. In today's video, I'll be sharing my Cryomancer Control Support Wizard build in Baldur's Gate 3. This build is curated to be the ultimate strategist, offering you a wide array of tools to push battles into your favor. You will be able to lock down entire screens of enemies, control their movement, lead them exactly to where you want them to be. Mistakes are also easily fixed with divination magic, but your offensive potential is also incredible. Ice magic is the best choice here, combining non-concentration options to still hamper the movement of enemy forces. Sorcerer levels allow for further manipulation of spells, and wizard levels present you with a near infinite amount of possible spell combinations. And those can easily be tailored to the encounters before you. It just felt incredible to chain CC entire groups of enemies and bosses. There was no way of them to break free. The hardest encounters in the game trivialized, and smaller encounters that warranted the use of more force were also a pleasure to deal with. Twin casting haste spells to buff the strike force of your party is a viable option. I felt like a true tactician that commands the flow of battle, even at times resembling a Cryomancer. Now with the introduction of the build out of the way, let's have a look at the starting ability score as well as level progression. As for the ability score, we go with 8 strength, 16 dexterity, 14 constitution, 16 intelligence, 12 wisdom and 8 charisma. When you get the hacker, you're going to lower your wisdom by 2 and increase your intelligence to 17. This allows for intelligence 18 without an ability score improvement. For the cantrips, we are going with Shocking Grasp to gain advantage versus metallic creatures or metallic armor. So when you use this one on a fighter that has metallic armor, you get advantage on the roll. We get Ray of Frost as our go-to ranged option. If this one hits, it decreases the movement speed of enemies by 3 meters. And we get Bone Chill. It prevents enemies from healing, and undead creatures get disadvantage on attack rolls. This one is also a ranged option. For the level 1 spells, we go with Shield, providing us with a reaction that increases our armor class by 5. For Cloud, to have something to obscure vision versus ranged enemies. It blinds and heavily obscures anything that's inside. Thunder Wave to push enemies. So this one is basically a shove action, just spell based. It can be used to shove enemies into chasms or in position for your fighters. Magic Missile is a sure hit ability, so you can target specific creatures in a radius around you. Doesn't matter if you see them or not, you're going to hit them. Deals force damage, and force damage ignores resistances. We pick Long Strider. This one is a ritual spell, so we can cast it after every long rest and just enjoy free movement speed more. If you're casting this one outside of combat, you're not going to use up a spell slot. And Mage Armor. This one increases our armor class to 13 and we get our dexterity modifier on top of that. So if you're using no armor, you can use this to get access to 13 armor class. We're going to start as a wizard. Later we're going to respec to sorcerers. However, it is better early game to just go with the wizard. The second level is going to be another wizard level. We go with the divination subclass. This one will give us access to potent dice. So you have basically 2 dice that are stored after long rest. You can use those on a reaction to exchange any die of an attack or saving throw to the die displayed to you. So if you have a die with 2, it's going to exchange the 20 critical strike versus the 2 and they're going to miss. Or if they succeed a saving throw, you can exchange it for the dice and then you're still going to CC the enemy. Additional spells include the Chromatic Orb as well as Enhanced Leap. Chromatic Orb gives us an option to deal thunder, lightning, frost, whatever damage. So it's the perfect tool to tailor to a specific situation. Level 3, another wizard. At this point we're going to pick up Hold Person for a very strong spell. This one is a concentration spell. We can hold a humanoid enemy and they cannot move, act or react. Any attack against them from a melee target is going to critically strike. So a combatant will crit versus them. Dealing damage to the target will not free them of Hold Person. The next spell you're going to learn is Darkness. Darkness makes it impossible to see through an area, except for warlocks with Devil's Sight. Anything inside is obscured and blinded. There are no targets inside the darkness, and you cannot shoot out of darkness without Devil's Sight. Level 4, another wizard. The next cantrip we are going to learn is Friend, giving us advantage on charisma checks versus non-hostile creatures. However, on tactician difficulty, targets will get pissed, so you need to run away. It's like basically stealing. For the spells we go with Cloud of Daggers as well as Invisibility. Cloud of Daggers is a concentration spell, so you cannot hold person and use Cloud of Daggers. However, it deals incredible amounts of damage and is a great zoning tool. And Invisibility can be cast on your thief, so they have an easier time stealing things. As for the feat, we go for the ability score improvement. If you have the hacker, you're now at 20 intelligence. If not, you're now at 18. Level 5, another wizard. We get access to a ton of really good spells. For one, Fireball is going to be a go-to AoE spell. A lot of enemies are vulnerable to fire damage or do not have any resistances, so having access to this one is really good. Other great options in this tier are Lightning Bolt, providing us with a straight line of damage, lightning damage, but I prefer to go with Haste at this level. Another concentration spell to boost our allies. Level 6 is another wizard level. At this point we're going to get access to some incredible CC abilities. The first one is Hypnotic Pattern. Hypnotic Pattern has an incredibly large AoE that's not going to make the wisdom saving throw, is going to get stunned, paralyzed. They cannot move, attack, react. So after getting to this one, we can now lock down entire screens of enemies. And we also get Glyph of Warding, a non-concentration ability. Glyph of Warding targets a specific area and plants basically a mine. Any enemy that steps inside will need to roll a dexterity saving throw, and if they do not succeed, they get damage. You can change the damage type to anything you like. At level 7, we are going to respec to a 1-level Sorcerer with the same stats and a 6-level Wizard. For the cantrips, we are going to pick Mage Hand, Blade Ward, Minor Illusion and Light. We don't want anything that damages enemies because we are going to not use anything here for damage purposes. We have a charisma modifier for our spell casting, so our DCs and our attacks are going to be very low. The spells we're going to pick here are Disguise Self and Featherfall, both of which do not depend on those two modifiers. And the subclass is going to be Storm Sorcery. Storm Sorcery gives us access to tempestuous magic. As a bonus action, we can use a Fly action, which covers 9 meters and does not trigger opportunity attacks. If we are not hit, we are keeping our concentrations. At level 7, we also get access to level 4 spells. We do not learn them naturally because we didn't pick the 7th wizard level. However, we can get to vendors and learn the specific spells. We can now prepare those spells despite not being a level 7 wizard. This is going to apply for the next levels. So we go for another level in Sorcerer and we're going to pick whatever spell we like. What we really carve are Distant Spell, Meta Magic and Twin Spell, Meta Magic. Twin Spell allows for a single target spell to target 2 targets. This means we can haste 2 targets at once. And Distant Spell increases the distance we can cast our spells. So if you are just outside the range of your fireball, you can still use this to cast that fireball on faraway targets. This will improve the flow of battle drastically. Level 9 will give us access to another Sorcerer level. We now pick up Quickened Spell, which allows our spells that cost an action to be used as a bonus action. So we can cast 2 spells per turn if we use up the sorcery points for this. For the spell you can pick whatever you want. All other levels are wizard levels. For the level 4 spells, Banishment and Polymorph are great. At this point you should already have learned Ice Storm through a scroll, same with Blight, a Necrotic Damaging spell, a really good Necrotic Damaging spell, and Dimension Door to pick up one ally and teleport into another position. With the 8th level wizard, pick whatever spells you want. Greater Invisibility can be good, Stone Skin can also be good to improve your tankiness. But for the feat, increase your intelligence to 20 if you do not have the hack here. If you do and you already have intelligence at 20, you're going to pick up Warcaster. You get advantage on saving throws to maintain your concentration. You now have proficiency and advantage on the saving throw. And you can use your Shocking Grasp as a reaction. And the last level, also a wizard. You will want to pick up Cone of Cold, a really strong ice spell, and Hold Monster, an incredibly strong spell. You can learn both of those through scrolls. You can learn every single spell like this. For level 6 spells, Ice Wall is incredibly strong. Chain Lightning provides you with a ton of lightning damage, and Disintegrate force damage. What can I say? An incredibly strong single target spell. So let's talk about the spellbook. The first levels you want to use Magic Missile to have something in hand to guarantee damage. You want to use Mage Armor to increase your AC. Long Strider is nice to improve the mobility of your party, and Shield is going to be for defenses. In the early game you will actually not use Hold Person all that much. There are not many enemies that warrant the use of this one. Using your concentration on damage with Cloud of Daggers to prevent enemies from moving through a corridor or force them to move through this one to deal damage is going to be much more valuable. If you do not have a Thief in your arsenal, use Knock. And for mobility purposes, you're going to want to have Misty Step in your ability bar. Keep in mind we do not have the Sorcerer level yet, so we do not have access to the bonus Fly. Level 3 will give you some incredible tools to enhance your gameplay. This includes Lightning Bolt, Hypnotic Pattern, Fireball, Glyph of Warding and Haste. All of those spells you will use through the entire game. You're basically not going to use Cloud of Daggers at this point anymore, and you're also going to delete Magic Missile from your bar. Depending on the enemies you're going to fight, Lightning Bolt or Fireball is going to be the preferred option. For most of the game, you're going to mostly use Fireball. Hypnotic Pattern is going to be your go-to CC ability. And Glyph of Warding works like this. You cast this one, choose a damage type, and then place it on the ground. It's going to deal an immense amount of damage. You cannot trigger it, but enemies can. Hypnotic Pattern looks like this. Has a massive AoE attached to it, so you can cast it, for example, here, and everyone that doesn't save is getting hypnotized. This one is a concentration spell, so keep it in mind. You also want to have Hold Person in your bar and Haste. Depending on the enemy, you're going to use the one or the other. If you're fighting versus a particularly dangerous humanoid enemy, use this one. If you're fighting a group of enemies, use Hypnotic Pattern. And if you're fighting a single target enemy that's not humanoid, use Haste. The level 4 spell lineup has a few utility spells, but I personally do not like to use them. Ice Storm is a great AoE ability for damage. Dimension Door is nice for mobility, but at this point everyone will have mobility already. Banishment takes out one specific target out of combat for 2 turns. There are a few instances where you can use this one to make the fight easier, but I actually didn't find that many. Polymorph can be useful. It serves the same purpose as Banishment, just a different save. This one is Wisdom, this one is Charisma, and the Polymorph keeps the target on the battlefield as a sheep, so you can break that sheep. It's okay. Both of them are actually not that good. There are better options with Hypnotic Pattern and Hold Person, but they provide you with an option versus, for example, undead enemies. And Stone Skin can be used on yourself to basically make you tankier. Can be useful when walking through traps, for example, but otherwise I would not recommend using this. Now we get to the juicy stuff. Level 5 spells have some incredible options. Hold Monster is one of them. Cone of Cold, a really strong spell. Telekinesis, incredible. We're going to talk about those first. Hold Monster can be used on anything except undead, so that's an incredible upgrade to Hold Person. So you're going to delete Hold Person from your bar, which opens up the slot for Artistry of War. This one is a special spell you can find in the vaults underneath the magic shop in Act 3. It's hidden in a book and provides you with a scroll that you can learn as a wizard. It's basically a magic missile with more flair. Has 100% hit chance and can target anything. So yeah, really strong spell, and it's perfectly themed for this build. And we have Cone of Cold, a really strong AoE spell. Deals a ton of damage, is on a Constitution saving throw. And then we have access to level 6 spells. My go-to spell is Wall of Ice. Wall of Ice is just incredible. Casting this one looks like this. You target an area and you can then break the concentration and leave behind mist. This mist also damages targets. Does not require concentration, remember. So you can cast this one, break the concentration and cast something else entirely and still damage targets. So the spell is an incredible investment. So we are now standing in front of a group of enemies. We can use our Hypnotic Pattern. We can upscale this one to make the saving throw a little bit more difficult. We can target a ton of enemies like so. Yeah, we're going to attack them. We can lower the hit dice. As you can see here, the hit dice is 16. They rolled 25. We can use a portent die to lower this one to 1, a critical miss. They are leaving the vicinity of the strike. We can use our Warcaster reaction to use Shocking Grasp on them. So we took out all of those enemies. They didn't move. And basically we skipped their turns. With enough DC, like this character has a 21 DC, we can target some enemies and have a 100% chance to get their Hold Monster off. So we can cast this one on a Steel Watcher, for example. We can use a Quickened spell for Cone of Cold and target those two. One of them is saving, so we can change that. Deals a ton of damage and end our turn. Enemies we deal frost damage to will now stand in a frost ground. This has to do with a ring we are currently having equipped, which is the Snowburst ring. So that's basically how this character functions. You see the battlefield, you see enemies, take them out, lower their defenses, make them trip. There is a few options we can do. And the Steel Watcher now has the debuff Hold Monster, so we can target this and deal a critical hit automatically. This one is true for every single hit we deal, which is just amazing. Pairs really well with martial artists. Next, a little bit about battle preparation. When we are using the legendary staff, Marquesium, we can use Kreshka's Favor, pick up Dark Winter, increases our cold damage by the proficiency bonus, which is 4 damage, but we also inflict frost. Enemies have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws, and at 7 they will be dealt additional cold damage as well as the condition Frozen. Frozen makes them incapacitated. We can buff our group with Longstrider, which we can upscale and upcast to target multiple allies. Does not consume a spell slot. For some fights we can twin cast our haste and target 2 allies. We can also cast Blade Ward free fight, 2 turns on this one, does not require concentration, so that's really nice to have. And that's about it here. Now let's go over the gear. Marokeshia can be found in the Sorcerers and Sundries, so just solve the puzzle, go to the dude upstairs, talk to him, then jump down 1 floor, use the invisibility, go to the pedestal that's labeled with below, use this one, and you get down to another floor. In this floor you need someone with high arcana, so save before that. Then you see 2 globes, target 1 globe will have the Marokeshia and the other one will have Robe of Weave, which increases your spell save DC and spell attack rolls. Combined with the Hood of Weave, which we can get from the vendor right here in Philip's Grave Mansion. Here is a door that has a DC 25 to unlock. It's a stone slate. We can use the knock spell on this one. So if you have this spell here, you can use it. Then you enter the building and talk to the NPC. Do not interact with anything there, otherwise he's going to attack you. He will sell you this specific hood. +2 to spell save DCs and attack rolls. Cloak of the Weave is our cloak. We can find this one in Devil's Fee. There's a merchant right here. You need to run around the building with a good perception roll. You will find some interesting stuff. Investigate that stuff, talk to her and tell her to show you the good stuff. She will sell you the Cloak of Weave. Helda's gloves in the House of Hope, you can find those, give you another spell DC. There is a hidden chamber that's unlocked by 2 rolls, one of which is an Arcana roll, so get those. Then for the boots, go for the Disintegrating Nightwalkers, which give you immunity to slip on ice or grease. So this is really nice to have since we are using a lot of CC abilities and we don't want to slip on those. And we get a Misty Step of free. Those can be found in Act 1 in the Grimforge. Down below is a video that showcases the location. The Amulet of Greater Health is our go-to amulet, increases our Constitution score to 23, which helps with the Constitution saving throws. And we also get advantage on Constitution saving throws, so we don't actually need the War Mage, the Warcaster, and can go with something else, like for example dual wielding. So we can dual wield 2 staffs. An example for a second staff is the Staff of Spell Power, which can also be found in the House of Hope, or you can use a shield, a Catholic shield. The last boss of Act 2 has this one, gives you more AC. I prefer this approach because more AC means you're not getting hit that regularly and you can maintain your constitutions much better. Like I said, Amulet of Greater Health found in the House of Hope. And before you steal this one, make sure you're rolling a perception roll before that. It will reveal a trap underneath, so you need to disarm that trap, otherwise hell will break loose. For the rings, Snowburst ring. In the Last Light Inn, there is a plank that you can find with a perception roll. Underneath this plank, this ring is stored. So when we target any ally or anyone with this specific spell, going to create an ice area that can slip foes. And we're going to use the Ring of Mental Inhibition. After someone fails a saving throw against our spells, they get Mental Fatigue, which lowers the DC by another 1. Makes it easier to hit consecutive abilities. For the ranged weapon, go with any ranged weapon. This will give you access to arrows. There is quite a few in the game that provide you with a little bit of damage and CC. So you can teleport, for example, with this one, or apply acid. Acid lowers the AC by enemies affected by it. You can silence enemies, and there's many more. So you get access to something to do outside of spellcasting, so you're not completely useless. Your dexterity score is not that low, at 16, so your actual hit chance is quite high. A great alternative to the Amulet of Greater Health is the Spellcrux Amulet, which you can find in Act 2. In Moonrise Tower, there's a warden in the prison down below. When you kill this one, you will find the Spellcrux Amulet. Another great one, especially early on, is the Necklace of Elemental Augmentation, which you can find in the Crash Yelek in the first act in the portal room. For mid-game gloves, Daredevil gloves are really nice. Those can be found in the Crash Yelek at the Quartermaster. So for the rope and the staff, you will find a vendor in the Spore Colony. So there is a mushroom colony in the Underdark in Act 1. There is a half-orc vendor. When you trade with this one, you can find a staff with a +1 to spell attack DCs and saving throws, as well as a rope. Down below you'll find a video that shows the location of those items. For the helmet, you will find the Fistbreaker helmet. In the Moonrise Tower there is a Bugbear vendor that sells this exact helmet, gives you +1 to initiative and spell save DCs. And the big staff is the Morning Frost staff. There are 3 items you can find, which you then can combine into this specific staff. Down below in the description box, I will write you down where to find the items to combine into the Morning Frost. You can get this one fairly late in Act 1, but it will be the best staff until you find basically the Marokeshia. Cold damage you inflicts the chilled status, which makes enemies vulnerable to cold damage. So it increases cold damage quite substantially. So if you're going for the dual wield option, you can go with the Marokeshia and the Morning Frost to have another alternative to the Staff of Spell Power. Anyway, this sums up the build guide. If you found this helpful, please leave a like, comment if you have any questions or remarks, subscribe if you haven't already. You can also join the channel membership or leave a donation if you have the spare coin. So see you next time and bye.